Test, test. Okay.
It's kind of nice. I mean, you could be
Testing 1, 2, 3. And anyway, I can flip this mic on quick if you need it.
You feel like you're official, and I don't know if you've met.
I'm Andrew Whitberg's deputy.
Okay. Brian Carlson, KSL TV. I'll take a hard copy.
Are you still up there? I was just we might need to see.
Meet you.
But I can have a hard copy go back up.
Well, I was curious. Last time we did this, we didn't do questions. I'm curious.
Is it like go to the back of the
Hey, do you happen to know if we're gonna do Q&A after?
that I think so.
Yeah. Good to know. Thank you much.
Yeah, and it'll be uploaded online too.
This will be, or just
What's that? Yeah, just to level it out.
so they're doing.
Hey Alfredo, how you doing? I'm good. Whose is this one?
Oh, that's mine.
I'm gonna lay my papers there. If yeah, I don't want to mess you up.
No, it's like
You know what I mean?
big and plonking over here.
Doesn't sound like it's on.
Maybe here, Emily. Would that be helpful? Do that. All right. Good morning. Can you hear me? Okay. Hey, Salt Lake City police officers. Thanks for being here. Can you hear me okay in the back? Okay. All right. We picked the north side because I thought it would be in the shade, so I apologize. I'll apologize in advance that I have a lot to say this morning, so please seek tree shade if you need it. 6 months ago, we stood just on the other side of the building here at City Hall and acknowledged a hard truth, that Salt Lake City was not doing enough when it came to ensuring our public safety. But out of that recognition and the plan that we announced in January came a lot of action. Our public safety plan clearly outlined 27 city-led strategies and 23 urgent recommendations for our partners at the state and county levels. And I want to thank Governor Cox, Speaker Schultz, and President Adams for their leadership and their support over the last 6 months. Today, I'm proud to report that we have made tremendous progress. 12 of the city's 27 actions are complete and remain ongoing. The remaining 15 are in progress, many of which are already producing real results. And that includes priorities supported by my proposed fiscal year 2026 budget, which were approved by our city council last month. And I want to thank the city council for their partnership and for sharing in these priorities. I won't go through all of those priorities, but there were many that the City Council approved and supported in our budget, which has taken effect on July 1st of this year. Together, the budget's public safety initiatives that were in the public safety plan represent nearly $4 million of city investment. It's because we're listening to our residents and we're responding with urgency. And as part of those investments, we've now added park security across 9 city parks and along key sections of the Jordan River Trail. We're improving street lighting at high traffic areas with several more trailer lights arriving by the end of this month. And we've committed an unprecedented in city history $5 million toward deeply affordable housing this year, because we know that housing stability is essential to public safety and to reducing individuals' criminal justice system involvement. I also want to thank Police Chief Brian Redd. He took the helm just over 4 months ago and immediately got to work turning strategies into action. Chief Redd has reaffirmed our officer priorities, improved internal operations, and is building significant trust throughout the department, all while leading with clarity, urgency, and resolve. I want to also thank our fire department and our chief, Carl Lieb, who's in attendance today. Our fire department are critical partners, as well as our dispatch at 911. They've all been deeply involved in this work. Under Chief Redd's leadership, Salt Lake City ended the month of June on an 8-year low for overall crime. And we are on track to finish out the year 2025 with over 1,000 more jail bookings than 2024. Our officer proactivity is up nearly 10% year over year. But I want to be clear, we don't view these statistics as definitive success. Rather, they're a sign that we're moving in the right direction. And they're also a constant reminder that this work is never done, and we will never stop measuring and listening about our progress toward our goals. One of our first actions under the Public Safety Plan was deploying the Violent Crime Apprehension Team, or what we call VCAT, because we love acronyms. And the VCAT aggressively targets gang activity to disrupt drug and firearm trafficking. The results of our VCAT have been swift and substantial. Just last month, VCAT seized 760 fentanyl pills, 30 grams of meth, 37 grams of crack cocaine, and $4,300 in cash, all from a single search warrant at a single location. Over the past 6 months, their work has led to the confiscation of thousands of fentanyl pills, over 20 pounds of narcotics, and nearly 100 illegally possessed firearms. The Public Safety Plan also created the Community Impact Division, or CID, which is within our police department. And since January, officers assigned to that division have been focusing on downtown, Jordan River Trail area, and the Ballpark neighborhood. They're out there in patrol cars, yes, but they're also on bike and on foot. They've taken hundreds of criminals off the streets. They've tracked suspects, and they've dismantled drug operations. At Cottonwood Park alone, CID officers assigned to our bike units seized over 5,000 fentanyl pills and more than $11,000 in cash from a single dealer surrounded by many customers in one strategic arrest. Our officers have made over 1,200 contacts with unsheltered individuals, connecting nearly 200 willing people to services in just 1 week. And every day, our officers are out on our streets working to help unsheltered people find stability and healing. They identify those who are experiencing acute mental illness and crisis. They make referrals to service providers that can help with housing or treatment options. They even provide transport out of the city to centers like the Huntsman Mental Health Institute, which is already helping to fill a major gap in the services system since it opened in March of this year. I am incredibly proud of our police department. Everyone in this city, everyone in this state should be proud of the Salt Lake City Police Department and the work that we are doing. But I also want to acknowledge that a lot of our public safety plan is not just about the police. Because as talented and dedicated as our officers are, they are not equipped to solve every problem. And they shouldn't have to be. Their job is to protect our community and enforce the law. And I want you to hear me when I say that our officers are as frustrated as anyone at the way that our system is failing so many individuals. That's why our plan also takes on a community-based approach. We realize that safety doesn't start with police sirens or a fire truck. It starts with stability, clean and well cared for public spaces, strong neighborhoods, and access to stable housing and the basic services people need to live with dignity. So more recently, we launched the city's new Urban Services Division within our Salt Lake City Public Services Department. And this includes the Clean City team. Thanks to some serious restructuring that we did within our limited budget and budget investments that our council approved, this Clean City team will be a serious powerhouse when it comes to removing graffiti, cleaning out street debris, trash, and restoring neglected spaces in the city. This new team will complement the city's rapid intervention team, which has been out there for several years, and we're now expanding the rapid intervention team so that they can respond faster and more thoroughly to livability issues like sidewalks, waste, and maintenance in our high traffic areas. We created the Downtown Safety and Activation Partnership as another action in the public safety plan that brings businesses, nonprofits, and residents together into a dialogue with the city so that we can co-create safety solutions. That's the kind of community-based policing that public safety should be doing, and we are doing well in the Salt Lake City Police Department. We're also increasing hygiene access. A new pilot program is launching soon. I'm going to be able to give you more details later this summer, but we've recently executed a contract so that we can bring free restrooms, showers, and laundry facilities to those in need living on the streets. It's an essential step for both human dignity and the safety and well-being of our public spaces and individuals in the city. These actions that I've just spent a few minutes listing are really just some of them that we're updating in our 6-month update that we have here to show you today, and it's online. We're going to have more to share later this summer, hopefully, as we continue to add and activate on these actions. More of our goals are, many of the goals that we listed back in January are medium and long term, and we're committed to implementing them with care and urgency and also the discipline that they deserve. But I want to be candid about the other goals that are outside of the city's sphere. I'm disappointed, and I wish that more progress was made on those external recommendations during this year's legislative session. The city advocated for several clear policy changes that would have better advanced this plan, but many of them failed to pass through the legislature. I urge lawmakers to give those measures more serious consideration moving forward. And when we released the plan, we also offered city-owned land for use as a temporary shelter campus, contingent on operational funding from the state or philanthropic partners. But since then, that city-owned land has been considered by the state as the site for a permanent facility, and progress has now stalled. The city has done everything in our power to support this effort. Now, we need the state to act to fully fund development and ongoing operations for this state-owned campus. Despite these delays, Salt Lake City continues to step up. Today, in this city, we have 400 more shelter beds than we did a year ago. We extended our winter shelter into the summer months. We approved additional youth beds. Thank you, City Council. And we continue to expand temporary shelter wherever we can. But we cannot keep doing this alone. This crisis demands sustainable, long-term funding from the state to meet the scale of this challenge in the fastest-growing state in this nation. We recognize also that big systemic changes like this take time and work, and they take partnership. But like I said in January, Salt Lake City cannot act alone for the public safety plan to be effective. Each level of government, each individual function must hold one another accountable, or the system will remain fragmented and inefficient. That's why one of the greatest impacts so far of our public safety plan has been its ability to bring the right people together at the table. Over the last several months, Chief Red and I have had regular coordinating meetings with Wayne Niederhauser from the Utah State Office of Homeless Services, Mayor Wilson from Salt Lake County, District Attorney Sim Gill, Matt Dumont from the Salt Lake County Jail, Rich Morrow, the head of the Salt Lake Legal Defenders, Michael Dreschel from the Administrative Office of the Courts, the presiding judge of Salt Lake City's Justice Court, Judge Joja Liu, and many, many others. These meetings, these coordination, This coordination is beginning to lead to some real solutions, and I am so grateful for each individual who continues to show up, have the hard, honest conversations about what isn't working, and help me and others learn from each other so we can do better. One of the most promising outcomes so far of this collaboration is Project Connect. It's a groundbreaking new initiative. It's bringing together city, county, and state partners and their data in a way that never has happened before. We're looking to identify the highest utilizers of the criminal justice system in Salt Lake City and connecting them with the housing, treatment, and services that have evaded them because the system was not designed to serve them. I'm going to let Chief Brown, or pardon me, the other color, Chief Red, talk about that more in just a minute. These are individuals, these high utilizer misdemeanor individuals are those with complex behavioral health needs, and their misdemeanor criminal activities cycle them through emergency response systems and jail again and again with no real change. If we can lift this very small but high impact group of individuals out of crisis and into stability, we will unlock a disproportionately great amount of capacity in the system, from our courts to jail space to hospitals and even our patrol coverage. Chief Red is going to share more about that. So let me close by saying this. Salt Lake City is not letting a broken system prevent us from fixing the pieces that we can control. We're not letting a lack of space in the shelter system mean a lack of effort on our part. And perhaps most importantly, we're not allowing short-term wins like those I've just described in part to distract us from the long-term work ahead. We are not finished. We're not yet satisfied. I'm not even close. But I want to thank our city team. I want to thank Chief Red, Salt Lake City Police Department, our firefighter partners, and our Dispatch 911 who coordinate with us, and our partners outside of Salt Lake City that I've just mentioned, who we need and who have helped make this forward motion possible. I invite all Salt Lakers and state legislators to read our 6-month report. You can find it at slc.gov/public safety plan. And I also encourage all of you to continue to hold us accountable for our work in this toward this progress. Chief Red is up next. Please forgive me for the name slip.
That's okay.
I think it's the only time.
It's okay. Thank you, Mayor, for all your support. I want to also thank our officers who are here today and across the city who are doing amazing work every day in helping to keep the city safe and help individuals who are in need across, in the city. I also want to thank the City Council for their and the Mayor for the support in our budgetary needs this past budget session. These were critical needs that are going to be a game changer for our department, so thank you. And then I also want to thank the professional staff of the Salt Lake City Police Department who support our officers in their work every day, who are just as critical in getting done our mission. Over the past 6 months, enforcement is up. Jail bookings are up, camping enforcement is up, and efforts to stop the flow of fentanyl and methamphetamine continue. I can go into numbers, but camping citations are up significantly. Arrests are up over 20%, with more than 5,300 jail bookings this year, and the number of citations has also increased by a significant margin. As the Mayor mentioned, our violent criminal apprehension team, our special investigations unit that works on narcotics, and other specialized units within our city, including our patrol officers, are working very hard to keep the city safe. While these numbers are important, and it's important that we hold people accountable, our officers are also working hard every day to help individuals who are out on our streets, who are struggling and who are vulnerable. And really, the public safety plan, in my eyes, boils down to two important themes. One is that we need to deliver consequences to those individuals who choose to victimize, bully, and harm others in our community, especially the vulnerable on our streets. And number two, we need to deliver help and support to those in need, people that have very complex challenges. we need to get really good at delivering the help that they need. And those really are the two major themes in my mind of the public safety plan. To be effective and to accomplish this, we have to better align the criminal justice and social services systems. We need to involve the community, who can bring a lot of solutions, and work together to address this intersection of crime, homelessness, mental health, and addiction. We will not tolerate, we cannot nor will we tolerate drug dealing in Salt Lake City or drug use in our city, especially in our public spaces and our parks. If you're a dealer, we're going to hold you accountable. If you're a user in our public spaces, we are also going to hold you accountable, but we want to bring help to you as well, and we will offer that help in those services. And the Connect program is one of those things that where we're trying to accomplish that. And we're closely collaborating, as the mayor said, with the district attorney's office, the courts, the jail, our allied law enforcement agencies, the public defenders, our community councils, formerly incarcerated, justice-involved individuals. But we all have to understand life on the streets doing drugs is a death sentence. That's not my words. That's the words of author Sam Quinones, who was here in Utah recently. We can't accept in Salt Lake City that drug use on our streets is okay and that people living the way that they're living on our streets is okay. It's not. I asked some formerly incarcerated friends to share some thoughts because I think they're an important part of the solution. Those people who have come out of prison, who have changed their lives, who have been trained in peer support, who are now trying to help other people overcome their substance use, their criminogenic behaviors. I asked a few of them for some insights, and I just want to share one quote from one of those individuals. She said this, and I think it applies to the whole community. Empowering our community starts with believing that people can change. When we create space for accountability, we open the door to healing. It's about unity, purpose, and building a community where no one is defined by their worst day, but by the courage it takes to rise from it. And we need to align our system so that people can get sobered up, get the help that they need, be assessed on what those needs are, and then we need to help them with a new community. We can't release them. It does no good to treat someone and release them back to the same environment. It does no good to house someone but not provide them the individualized support they need to overcome their criminogenic behaviors or their substance use issues. We have to align the system, and we have to address things in an individualized way, addressing all of the needs at the same time. And so we are innovating. We are working with partners to try to make this happen. Now, just getting to a few specifics on the public safety plan before I conclude my remarks. 3 months ago, we closed the Jordan River Trail for some remediation and also because of the crime issues. Not necessarily homelessness issues, though there were a few people who were homeless on the trail. These were crime issues. Our officers have worked tirelessly in this area, which I appreciate so much. We've recently reopened the Jordan River Trail, but we're going to continue to be there and work with the community to activate that space so that it can be used by the general public, and so that when kids go back to school at Bachman Elementary in August, it's a safe environment for them to walk through when they go to school. And we'll keep at it. As the mayor mentioned, the Connect program, the Connect stands for Case Oversight for Needs, Navigation, Enforcement, Care, and Treatment. This is taking those highest utilizers of our criminal justice and social services system and individually assessing them and striving to bring resources and wrap around them to see if we get them the help we can get them the help that they need, to put them to the front of the line, and by doing so, reducing the burden on the criminal justice system, on the social services system, by actually delivering better results. With just weeks into the program, 16% of those individuals have been engaged in treatment, with additional 26% who have been assessed or referred to resources. And then in one case, we were able to get an individual back to their family out of state. So we're breaking down the silos between policing, incarceration, courts, social services, and the judicial system. We're all in the same room talking. We are working hard to improve the system. Just a couple other points. Our approach to coordination also prioritizes smart and forward thinking and investment in public safety technology such as cameras and drones that will help our officers and detectives work more quickly, respond more efficiently and more safely. Of course, as we utilize this type of technology, we're going to be guided by principles of protecting privacy and civil liberties, community involvement in these decisions, but we are going to be putting more cameras in parks, as the mayor has said, and the city council budgeted for us to keep those areas more safe. We are also entering the implementation phase of our real-time crime center. We received some initial seed funding for that this past budgetary session, and we'll continue to develop out our real-time crime center. We're going to continue to work on policy with our city council, with our state legislature, where adjustments can be made to keep us all safer and to help with the behavioral health needs and other needs of these individuals. We're going to continue to connect and engage with the community. Our Community Impact Division, which includes our Bike and Homeless Resource Center officers, are out working hard every day. Over a 10-week period, these officers dedicated more than 7,700 hours and made more than 13,500 contacts with unsheltered individuals, referring nearly 3,000 to services or offering. We're going to continue to get and encourage community feedback. We want the public to call if you're a victim of a crime. We want you to call if you have issues that you're seeing on our streets. We want you to call, and we've seen an increase in calls over the past 6 months, and we want to continue to see that go up. We're making great progress, but there are still challenges. We have an uptick in aggravated assaults. That's something nationally, but it's also here. A lot of those are family driven. That is a whole of community approach to resolving those issues. We have some uptick on residential burglary. We believe that's being that is a result of attacking these drug networks, destabilizing them some. The price of fentanyl on the street has gone up significantly over the past year, being reported by our narcotics unit and the State Bureau of Investigation. While there are challenges, while we've done more enforcement in our parks, there are still challenges in our parks and public spaces, and we're going to continue to chip away at that as well. There are also issues with RV camping out in the Northwest Quadrant and some criminal activity that's going on out there, and we're going to continue to look for solutions to address those things. And they're not all police solutions. It's going to take a whole of government, a whole of community. I want to thank our other city departments who are engaged in those efforts as well. Just final thoughts. Those of you out there who are struggling, who are in need, we want to help you try to improve your lives. We want to get you off the streets, and we're going to work hard to do that with our partners. To those who are on the streets who are victimizing and harming other people, please stop. We're going to hold you accountable if you continue that. We're going to ask the other parts of the criminal justice system to help us in that effort as well, and we are talking with them. Our ability to succeed is going to require trust and engagement with our community, and so for those who are interested in helping and supporting us, please reach out. We're going to work together to get this done. I want to share two stories of the good work of our officers to finish, and these are just simple but powerful stories of the work our officers that are standing behind you do every day. The first one is from Sergeant Sanders in Toffer Park. He found a man overdosing. The man was unconscious and struggling to breathe. Sergeant Sanders administered Narcan, and then the paramedics took over. The man, likely minutes from death, was transported for medical care. And I just want you to know I spoke with Utah Naloxone, and on average our officers are saving 3 lives a month deploying Narcan. And then there was Officer Blair Bench, who found a woman lying in crisis on the sidewalk near 520 West. Sorry, I don't have that written right. Near 400 West. Sorry, 520 West, 400 South. When Officer Bench approached her, he found her in crisis. She was confused and rambling. We see this on our streets quite frequently. He was able to recognize she needed help. He talked her down and helped her get to the new Huntsman Crisis Center in South Salt Lake and get her the care she needed. And I want to thank the Huntsman family for their amazing contribution to our community for that resource. In conclusion, we have a long ways to go. We're just getting started, but we'll continue our efforts, and thank you for your interest today.
Sure. A few questions, guys. Mayor, have you shared this update with legislative leadership in the governor's office?
Yes.
What's their response?
That they're actually receiving it today, as the public are as well.
There's a lot that you throw on the legislature saying they just simply did not fund or pass bills for. How much does that tie your hands?
It ties the entire system's hands. When we have the fastest growing population in the nation, we have a serious housing crisis that our governor's acknowledged, and his desire to create 35,000 entry-level family housing units. The funding is not there at the legislative level to accomplish these goals just yet, and people and dogs are upset about it. It's not only housing, it's the mental health components. It's the request that we've made for the ability for individuals who are in crisis and a danger to themselves to be committed so that those services can be rendered to those individuals. Those changes did not happen. And we see the State Homeless Services Board and Wayne Niederhauser and his office team at the state grappling to put together enough funding to keep the winter shelter beds operational through the summer, which there's not enough funding to do completely, so that people aren't turned back out on the streets. These are just some of the examples: mental health, housing, homeless services, and others that we explicitly outlined. Until these things are addressed, in particular the funding to equip these services, whether they are additional jail beds or mental health services. The ACT team is another one that we asked for specific funding. That's the Assertive Community-Based Treatment program that the county runs, where we can have individuals with serious mental illness live in community, as the United States government designed them to do, without equipping any funding or operations to do that. It's happening at the county-based level. The county knows that they need hundreds more people to be able to be served in this county. So some really clear recommendations. We've been talking for the last 6 months with state leaders about how urgently they're needed, and I will end by saying I'm especially grateful that it's not just Chief Red, Mayor Mendenhall, and some Salt Lakers talking about it. It's Mayor Wilson, it's the DA, Sim Gill, it's all of the partners that I listed who come together with us on a regular basis. We're all singing off the same sheet of music.
Really all of our public spaces. So we have Fairmont Park, we have the S line we're having some challenges with, the ballpark district, there's some parks in there, the Jordan River Trail, North Temple, especially 800 West, and then the downtown area we're having some challenges as well. And so we'll continue to target and move with the challenges that we see in the city.
I want to add a little bit onto that. This high utilizer approach, which I've been talking about for a long time. We went to Miami-Dade County in Florida several years ago to look at how they're approaching it, and that remains our North Star as all of government focus. And some of these individuals in the Project Connect high utilizer list have not just dozens and dozens of warrants, but approaching 100 warrants out for one individual in particular just this year. The system was not built to serve these complex individuals. And so the fact that we're arresting more people, our officer proactivity is up dramatically. In the end, if they aren't being held accountable and receiving the services they need, they're right back out on the street. Project Connect is critical to prove out that this model of data sharing and prioritizing access to services and accountability for particular individuals, very particular individuals, is critical if we're going to see a change in the system.
Mayor, I got a question about the safety feeling.
The feeling of safety?
Yeah, so you've got a number of these completed actions today, and at the time you rolled this out, you also mentioned that there was a number of the crime was down at that time, but
Sure.
yet people still felt unsafe. How do you have any kind of metric to how you measure that feeling, if it's improving?
Yeah, I really appreciate the question because, and I'll reiterate it for anybody who couldn't hear. In January, I talked about the feeling of safety and recognized that overall crime was down in Salt Lake City, but that didn't mean that people felt safe in their communities or when visitors would come into our downtown core. That's as much a responsibility on Salt Lake City and on our police department as the crime statistics actually are. And our public safety plan takes those kind of actions. I mentioned a little bit about bringing together downtown businesses, residents, and nonprofits to co-create solutions and hear about their experiences. But I think our officers who are here, and certainly Chief Red could tell you a lot of stories about residents coming out, even in the recent times since we've had park security since July 1st when that funding hit the books and we've increased park security in 9 of our parks. We have residents coming out saying, thank you. Thank you for being here. I feel the difference. My kids can come out here again. We hear that from downtown businesses. Not all, of course. We're still doing the work, but we're listening. We're listening. And to Chief Red's point about we want to hear from you, I just want to reiterate, if you want to tell us how great we're doing, call 799-3000 or email Chief Red. Don't call 911 for those kind of conversations, but we want to hear from you. And also the My SLC app is a great way to report needs in the community, non-criminal needs, but please let us know when you see needs out there in the community on the app.
Mayor, you're talking about how important funding is for achieving the public safety plan's goals. Local healthcare advocates are really concerned about federal Medicaid funding
Yes.
cuts through Trump's big beautiful bill that will exacerbate homelessness and the goals outlined in this public safety plan. What impacts do you anticipate as a result of the Medicaid funding cuts, and how did the city advocate for protecting Medicaid?
We are still advocating for protecting the Medicaid rights and access that our residents need. We're doing that through direct conversations with our congressional delegation, working also with local advocate groups who are at the front lines on the state legislative side, and of course talking with our own state leaders about the impacts. When Chief talks about that this isn't just a police-based approach, that we need, in order to improve the lives of individuals and improve our public safety, we have to be realistic about stable housing and access to substance use treatment, mental health services. Medicaid extension and the threats to the coverage that Medicaid is currently providing for complex need individuals will undoubtedly have an effect not only on their stabilization that may already tenuously exist in the community to a more destabilized state where we should anticipate the loss of housing access, the destabilization of mental health, and perhaps relapse into substance use treatment for individuals who are currently stabilized. What those exact numbers are, we've asked our healthcare advocates and professionals to try to help us refine that. I'm not prepared to pin a number on it, but you know that the vast majority of permanent supportive housing in this county is in Salt Lake City, and that a good number of those individuals are receiving Medicaid that is compromised by this bill.
I would just add a couple things from my experience in corrections. One, when an individual's physical and mental health needs are not met, it's really hard to progress in reentry and to move toward stability and independence. And so those access to those services are very critical. At the same time, establishing accountability for those individuals, knowing that it's not okay to use drugs. It's not okay to violate the law, and there will be consequences. And then holding them accountable and then bringing the services in behind that is going to be really critical. So you need both. You need the accountability, and then you need the treatment of those basic physical and behavioral health needs met.
Matt? A quick question following up on the perception question. And if I'm reading this right, the violent crime stats are all up. Year to date, 3 year, and I think if you go on the website, most of the categories except homicide are in the red.
Yeah, I think across the nation after COVID, we've seen a gradual decrease in violent crime, and I think our 3-year average has tipped up a little bit, and this year it's up. One of the things that we're assessing is that we have started destabilizing some of the entrenched encampments where, on the Jordan River Trail where drugs were being distributed. A year ago, you could buy a fentanyl pill for $1 to $3, $1 to $3. Today, our narcotics units are reporting $8 to $10 for a pill. So when you start disrupting those networks and disrupting people's access to those drugs, you're going to see an uptick in potentially violence, fighting, stealing from one another, stealing from our community. So the disruption is working, and we're going to have a short-term, it looks like we're having a short-term spike, and we'll continue to monitor it. As I mentioned, also aggravated assault is up, not just here but nationwide. A lot of that is family related. So those are things that the police alone can't address. It's going to take a whole of community approach to address whatever's going on within families.
I think business burglaries and sexual assaults are up too.
Right. Yeah, business burglaries are up, and we assess that it's likely the same thing with burglaries. It's that drugs are more expensive now, so people are starting to look for sources of income to feed their habit. And this is why it's important that the system helps with accountability after we arrest them and put them in jail. Like we need to get them sobered up. We need to get them individually assessed and get them the support that they need while they're incarcerated, because if we just book them into jail and release them back down, they're going for their next fix, and they're going to do whatever it takes to get that next fix.
Are there any concerns that Salt Lake City will start to feel over-policed? We're talking about drones, cameras in parks, more patrolling, while at the same time, it's not everyone's perception that more police equals more safety. So any thoughts on that?
Well, a couple things on that. One, I think that's why it's so important that we as a police department connect and stay close with the community. As an example, with the drones, we met with the ACLU last week, and we're having those conversations with them, and they're at the table assessing privacy, civil liberties from their perspective and their experience across the country. We know these real-time crime centers, these drones are being deployed across many cities in the country, including San Francisco, and you name it, they're going up. And so we need to make sure that as we roll out this type of technology, that we do it in a way that the community understands and supports. And so as far as over-policing, and then also we do have a diversified response here in the city. So we have a civilian response team that handles a lot of the lower level issues in the city, maybe helps with traffic control or takes simple property damage crashes. We have our social workers that are going out that are trying to help individuals. So we certainly want to make sure that people aren't feeling over-policed, and I think a lot of that is the connection that we have with the community, and we're committed to that.
One quick follow-up there, if I can, is just I'm seeing like you've got the meter here, 12 of 27 actions completed. Do you have a timeline when you want all of them completed?
Yes, and we laid that out back in January with the short, medium, and long-term strategies. And you can look on our website at what is in progress. And some of those it's clear that we need partnership, or we're going to have programs that I've just announced starting on July 1st with the funding that the council approved. We'll be reporting back on the completion of these as they roll out. You can keep up to date with that on the website. Some of them we acknowledge are longer-term solutions. And we're happy to do individual questions about those after this if you want to follow up with us. I just want to mention that to Emily's question about over-policing, I've been in City Hall for a long time, and what I know is that people want the police to show up when they call. When they're in a moment of crisis, in their moment of need, they want to know that our call response times are fast and that the needs are being met with care and professionalism. That's what our police officers want to do too. When we send drones up, when we have cameras and security cameras in more of our public spaces, while we work with the ACLU and making sure that the civil liberties of our residents are protected, it frees up time for our officers to not be going in feet on the ground as the first response to check out a scene for a lost hiker or lost, somebody who's evaded officers into a dense area. It gives the capacity to our police department to do what our residents ask most of me. Show up as fast as you can when I need help. I want to know that the police department's going to respond. And I know our officers want that as much as our residents do. I see these additions with cameras and drones and the real-time crime center as being able to help us have that capacity to show up faster. Last question?
Yeah, what kind of programs and agencies are you guys working with to help reintegrate those who have been incarcerated?
I'm going to let him talk about the formerly incarcerated, but I want to point out that the Project Connect is really looking at pre-incarceration planning and wraparound within incarceration. We didn't get into the details. This press conference wasn't about it in particular, but part of our strategy is dedicating social workers to these individuals at a higher, with more time and concentration to focus on their needs and help navigate the barriers or the complete gap in the system that doesn't exist. So our focus is not so much on the post-incarceration, although Project Connect and the social workers will also be involved there. I'll let you speak to that.
Yeah, so a couple organizations. One was recently reported on, Justice by Objective. That's one organization that we're communicating with. Another that came into Utah a year or so ago at the Department and supports the Department of Corrections is Defy Ventures. So we're having conversations with them, and the idea really is a couple things. One, we want to get to our youth and speak to them, and we want police officers and formerly incarcerated going to them and saying the violence, the gangs, it's not the way to go. So that's one thing that we're thinking about. The other thing is just people who have been through substance use challenges and have overcome them, who've been formerly incarcerated. We're talking with, and I don't remember the name of the organization, but it's the executive director is Brian Nilsson, who runs the peer support. I don't remember the name of the organization, but having them go out with us on the streets and help these people. Hearing from us to connect to services is different than hearing from someone who's been through it. And so we're in the early stages on those conversations, but really bringing the community to help these individuals to keep our youth from going down the wrong path, and then helping people who are out on our streets having complex issues speak to someone who's overcome it, who's done it, who's succeeded.
Thank you guys, appreciate it. The website, if it's not updated, will be updated shortly. Does anyone need a copy of the plan? I've got a few left here. No takers?
Thank you, Mayor. I don't know which one.
What a mess.